The first thing I'd like you to do is get yourself as comfortable as possible. On this tape, we're going to work on the sweet tooth. Now, I'd like you to take a real deep breath and then let it all the way out. Now I'd like you to pick out a spot, either on the wall or the ceiling, or wherever your gaze happens to fall. Focus your eyes on that spot without letting your gaze wander. You will notice that this is an abnormal way of seeing or looking, because ordinarily we see by leaps and darts. But when we are asked to focus our eyes on a spot, without letting our gaze wander, our eyes tend to tire very easily. Already you may be aware of the fact that the muscles of your eyes are beginning to tire. Keep focusing on that spot. Your eyes tend to go out of focus a little, and perhaps you will even notice that it will become increasingly more difficult for you to hold on to that spot with your eyes. Now let your eyes close and let the muscles of your eyes relax. Let them relax to the point where they simply won't work. When you are sure that the muscles of your eyes simply won't work at all, test them. But don't test them to see if they will work, because we know that you can open your eyes anytime you want. But test them to make sure that the muscles of your eyes are so relaxed that they just simply won't work at all. And when you are sure that the muscles of your eyes simply won't work at all, let the pleasant feeling of deep relaxation travel all the way down to the tips of your toes and relax. Each time you take a deep breath and let the air out, feel yourself relaxing deeper and deeper, feeling comfortably tired as you drift down deeper and deeper, relaxed. Now in this deeply relaxed state, you'll find yourself able to very clearly visualize or imagine the scenes that we're going to be presenting. The first thing I want you to do is imagine yourself sitting down with one of your favorite sweets or desserts. Now, as you recall, the most important thing is that any time you consume a sweet or dessert or any food in your home, to always eat this sweet or dessert at your special spot where you eat everything. In other words, you cannot stand and eat this. You cannot walk around and eat this. You will eat only at your special spot. By following the thinking thin rules on the other side of this tape, you will find that a much smaller amount of dessert is completely satisfying. You'll find that almost just a hint of it, or just a very slight bit of your favorite dessert, will be completely satisfying. Now I want you to pick a dessert that you would still like to eat now and then, but you want to learn to enjoy eating just a very small amount of that dessert. And you want to end up being completely satisfied with that small amount. Imagine yourself sitting in your special eating spot with that particular dessert sitting on a plate in front of you. Now imagine yourself taking a bite of it, whether it's a piece of cake, cookies, donuts, sweet rolls, or pie. With repeat listenings to this tape, you will eventually practice control over sweet eating with all of your favorite desserts, which you will have pictured in front of you one by one. Now you're chewing your first bite very slowly and completely and getting maximum pleasure sensations, maximum taste, following all of the rules, namely, you can have just one bite at a time, You can't touch it again until your mouth is completely empty. But now, after thoroughly chewing up and enjoying your first bite, you're taking another bite. Not a large bite, not necessarily a teeny tiny bite, but a medium-sized bite, and again chewing it up very slowly, enjoying every bite, every morsel, every taste, every swallow. Now you're beginning to feel full, starting to feel really full. You think that you might have just one more bite, so you take one more bite, chewing it up slowly, slowly, enjoying every single taste, the smell. And now the third bite is all gone, and you are quite full, quite satisfied. And 3 bites is going to be the magic number. You're going to find that all you are going to want is 3 bites of any dessert or sweet. Sometimes you may be tempted to go beyond 3 bites, but the 3 bites is going to have filled you up completely. The 3-bite rule is also going to apply to any between meal snacks of sweets. You'll find that 3 bites is plenty for you. You certainly don't need any more than 3 bites. And now we're going to demonstrate the 3-bite rule, because now, after 3 bites of any snack, even though your stomach might not literally be full, from now on, after 3 bites of any sweet snack, the stomach is going to feel so full and so satisfied that you're going to begin having quite a bit of trouble if you go beyond 3 bites on any sweet snack. And now let's imagine you're sitting there, and even though you feel full, and you know you don't really need any more, out of force of habit you decide to have another bite. But even as you put this 4th bite in your mouth, it tastes different. It just doesn't taste as sweet. In fact, suddenly there's a sort of gritty texture to it, almost like it has sand in it. There is a mild hint of sweetness, but as soon as we get full and we're satisfied, then we really don't need any more, and the food just loses its enjoyment. It loses its flavor. But you're still working on that 4th bite, slowly, and you notice that as the first bit of food trickles down to your stomach, then with the first swallow of that 4th bite, you notice a mildly nauseated feeling. You're feeling your stomach kind of turning over. You're feeling your stomach rebelling. Your stomach is trying to tell you, I don't want that 4th bite. But you may be the kind of person who quite often likes to be really shown something, and so you decide to continue chewing that 4th bite and possibly ignore completely the message from your stomach. But your stomach continues giving you messages, and by the time you have completely swallowed the 4th bite and swallowed everything that was in your mouth, you're really feeling nauseated. You find yourself even belching involuntarily. But you may be the kind of person who at times perhaps needs things to be really proven to them. And so you decide, I'm going to take that 5th bite because I did enjoy the first 3 so much, it just doesn't make sense that it could change so much. And so you decide to take the 5th bite. But even on the way to your mouth, the food begins taking on a different color. The color just doesn't look right. It looks a little bit sickening. And as you put it in your mouth, the gritty texture has increased, and it is almost like you were chewing sand. The saliva just won't seem to come, but you decide to go ahead with it anyway, because you're going to prove to yourself, once and for all, that when you want to eat something sweet, you will, no matter what your stomach says. And so as you're chewing this 5th bite, your stomach begins to really rebel and is turning over. You can feel the motions or movements. There is some gurgling going on. Now you're really starting to feel nauseated. And under ordinary circumstances, you would definitely quit eating whatever you were eating. But you just can't believe that this is happening to you. So after the fifth bite is completely gone, you stop for a couple moments and rest, and the gurgling does slow down. But you just can't believe it. You can't believe that you're going to have to change your eating habits after all these years and stop eating a sweet after 3 bites. That just doesn't make sense to you. So you decide to test it again. And now you're taking that 6th bite. You have barely got it into your mouth when your stomach really starts churning again, having little jerking spasms. And the first little bit of the 6th bite trickles down your throat toward your stomach, and it's more than your body can take. And food from your stomach begins forcing its way up, meeting the food on the way down. You finally get the message your body is trying to tell you, so you stop eating, and your stomach settles back down. The message from your stomach is that if you eat sweets at all, just a very few bites, 3 or 4, is all you want or need. Now let's go on a bit further to picture what would have happened if you hadn't stopped munching on that sweet. You would have been unable to stop the food coming up. It would have forced its way up the esophagus tube, up your throat, up into your mouth. It would have pushed and forced its way out. It would have gushed out of your mouth, past your teeth, and you probably wouldn't have had time to get up and move or go to the bathroom. You would have found that partially digested food with a sickly, sour smell gushing out onto your dessert, onto the table. It would have flowed down onto your clothing, onto the floor, all over everything. The odor would have been terrible, and you would have had to clean everything and taken a bath. Now as you look at the remnants of your dessert still on the table, you are glad you stopped in time, because you certainly ate an adequate amount of dessert. You enjoyed the first 3 bites so much, and now you have definitely tested the system, and you are quite convinced now that it is not necessary to eat the 4th, 5th, and 6th bites. 3 bites are completely satisfying. The 6th bite in particular is the one to be absolutely avoided. Now, that scene ends. Let yourself drift back, drift down, and relax. Just drifting down, relaxed. Now we're going to work on a food that you want to eliminate completely. The last sweet you worked on was any sweet or snack that you wanted to be able to still eat occasionally, but a sweet that you wanted to learn to eat in moderation. Small amounts of any sweet is all anybody needs, because just a few bites of a sweet, eaten slowly, while you're concentrating on every morsel, can completely satisfy the sweet tooth. But now we're going to work on some foods or sweets that you know are totally unnecessary. These foods you know, even in tiny amounts, are bad for your health. Rather than struggle with them, you prefer to eliminate them from your desire and diet entirely. You probably know of several foods that would fit into this category, possibly donuts. And so, as you listen to this tape on different occasions, you will first put one food you want to completely avoid, then another on your next listening, into the following scene. Which food you picture, or perhaps you will picture the same sweet over and over. It will depend on the sweet you've been craving lately. And so now, pick another sweet, one that you want to eliminate completely from your diet. It may be that as you listen to this tape several times, you'll be imagining the same sweet over and over a number of times to get the negative image built up stronger and stronger. Now you're sitting down at the table. Down on your plate is that sweet. You're thinking, well, I guess I'll take a bite of this. And you do take a big bite. You're chewing it up, swallowing. But then you look down at the spot where you had dug in your eating utensil and pulled out a bit of the sweet to take to your mouth. You notice something that you hadn't noticed before. There's a tiny movement down there in the sweet. And you are thinking about quickly taking a second bite, but you think that you had better check this thing out, that tiny movement. Then you probe around a little bit with your eating utensil, and to your horror and disgust, as you probe around, a small but fat white maggot rolls out and lies there next to the sweet, rolling, turning around, looking for food, because maggots are constantly in motion, constantly eating. You just can't imagine how some fly managed to get to this sweet, and managed somehow to penetrate inside, to lay its eggs, so that the outside, where you usually see the maggots, showed absolutely no signs. Whatever the sweet is, there was some tiny flaw in it, a tiny hole where the fly had gotten in, laid the eggs. The maggots grew inside there, and it turns out that what you had was just an outer shell or crust. That's all that was left. After you begin probing a little bit more into that sweet, you notice that there is nothing but the thin outer shell left. The whole inside is nothing but a mass of white, slimy, crawly, twisting maggots. And you find yourself becoming very nauseated, very upset, particularly when it occurs to you that you had just taken a large bite, chewed it up, and swallowed it. You thought about taking a small bite, but you were so eager that you took a large bite instead. You chewed it up and swallowed it so quickly that now you realize, because of the size of the bite, you must have also eaten at least 3 or 4 of those fat, ugly maggots. The thought just sickens you, and you find your stomach beginning to churn and roll over, and you know what's coming, and so you get up and start moving quickly toward the bathroom. But we're going to cut that scene off now. That's the end of that scene. Now, clear your mind. Let yourself relax. The picture is fading. If the previous image of maggoty sweets gradually loses its power, or even from the beginning has no negative impact on you, here is what to do. When that scene begins, the next time you play this tape, search your own mind for the most disgusting image you can possibly imagine. And the next time you play the maggot scene, imagine your sweet snack turning into whatever grotesque, horrible image you have conjured up instead of maggots. After repeated listenings to this tape, you will find that you won't be turned off by all sweets, but gradually you will find yourself disinterested in most sweets. When you see them, you won't feel disgusted. You will feel nothing at all. They will hold no interest for you. On the sweets you have decided to continue to eat, but in moderation, you will notice yourself losing your craving and feeling completely satisfied after a very few bites. For the next scene, we're going to travel into the future, to the time when you are down to your goal weight. If you cannot completely capture the full image, each time you play this tape, you will find yourself gradually putting together a complete composite of the new you, the you to come. You're in a long, long hallway. Way down at the other end, you can barely make out the image of another person. You begin to walk toward that person, and they, in turn, walk toward you. You feel strange, light. Your arms are tight. You feel no looseness anywhere. Your feet seem to barely touch the ground. You have tremendous energy. You could leap and run toward that person. You're getting closer, you see a relaxed, smiling person, the same sex as you, with a beautiful body. It's someone who is thin, but still well proportioned. You move still closer. They approach you. It's the kind of body you've always wanted to have, but the hope you would ever have it had faded. You're close enough to see the thin, youthful-looking face. The arms are well proportioned. No loose flab, only one chin. The clothes fit superbly. Something strange is happening. The figure moves exactly as you do. It could be a mirror image of you, except there is too much energy and happiness shining out of the face. You admire the trim elegance of that person. They come closer still. You can hardly believe it. It is you. You're gorgeous. You love it. That's why you have that radiant smile, the light step. You've shed those pounds. You easily lift a thinner arm. Your mirror image lifts the same arm. It is you. You hardly recognized yourself at first. No more shopping for the mature figure. No more trying to figure out what clothes will best cover the bulges. You are a sight for sore eyes, and you love it. And you're going to keep this image burned into your mind until you have become that image. Now we're going to have a brief review of the thinking thin rules we've covered on these tapes. While we're going over these thinking thin suggestions, keep looking at your thin, attractive image in the mirror. Even as you listen, look at your new, thin body in the mirror from different angles. If you can't always focus in on a clear picture, you can still perhaps alternate your picture with other sensations of lightness and flowing, easy movement you will experience once you're thin. Remember, you will eat at only one place in your home, so that you associate eating only with that one place and not every other area of the house. You will always eat sitting down so that you can enjoy the experience, and in order to have control over how much food you're eating. It seems that it is easier to misjudge the amount of food we've eaten and to eat too fast if we're standing up while we're eating. Never eat with an unlimited amount of food in front of you. If you have a snack, take what food you feel you need to get by for the next little while. Put it on a plate, take it to your chosen eating area, and then eat and enjoy the food, engaging in no other activity while eating. You may even end up having another snack before your next regular meal, but you have to wait at least 1 hour before your next snack. To repeat, you may need to keep track of your calorie intake if you find yourself having any problems dropping weight. Always start each day off with an adequate amount of food, at least 200 calories, to give you energy and strength to carry out this program later in the day, when a well-nourished brain will help you follow the Thinking Thin program easier. If you don't like to eat as soon as you get up in the morning, eat something as soon as you can, but at least by 10 o'clock. Have a good healthy breakfast, and don't forget to eat lunch 2 or 3 hours later. Because if you're going to cut down on food intake, it's easier and better to cut down around dinner time and after than it is to cut down early in the morning. The reason for this is that if you have your last food of the day as late as 8 or 10 in the evening, and your next food at 2 in the afternoon, your judgment is going to be very poor by 2 in the afternoon, because you've gone 14 hours with no food. As a result, you would have a drastically reduced blood sugar level. This reduces your capability for good judgment and makes sticking to any food control plan difficult. Often the pattern of the person with a weight problem is to skip both breakfast and lunch. Each day they are determined to diet, but by 2 in the afternoon, their judgment is poor, their thinking is fuzzy, they've deprived themselves of food for 14 hours, and so they have their first meal. But that one meal may end up to be a binge that lasts until 10 in the evening. With repeated listenings, you will find the ideas on these tapes becoming more and more a part of your thought processes. You will find yourself dropping off pounds easily, and once at your goal weight, you'll have developed a set of eating habits that will keep you there. This tape will end in a few seconds, so now I'm going to count to 5. When I reach 5, open your eyes. You'll feel pleasantly refreshed and relaxed, but wide awake. 1, 2, 3, feeling yourself rousing up. 4, 5, your eyes are open.